Madam Speaker, before I begin my remarks in English, I want to acknowledge the total hell that the honourable member for Wellington Halton Hills has suffered. I cannot imagine receiving a phone call from a journalist late one night to find out that family members on the other side of the world have been threatened for 2 years, and that my own government knew about it and said nothing to me or did anything to protect my family, and worse still, allowed the perpetrator of these threats to remain in Canada and have immunity from our laws all of that time. It must have been the worst phone call he ever received. But I have to say, that member dealt with this incredible hardship with grace and dignity and honor, and all of us and all Canadians stand with him foursquare. Thank you very much. And what has the Prime Minister learned? Apparently nothing. You know, he finally kicked out the operative from Beijing after 2 years of knowing about this. CSIS informed the Prime Minister's National Security Advisor in July of 2021, 2 years ago. He did absolutely nothing. It wasn't until the media found out that he responded at all. And even then, he said he was too afraid to kick this agent out. This agent not only went after a member of this House, but sadly may have targeted countless other families. The member in question had told me, and I think he wouldn't mind if I shared, that what bothers him most is that while he has the floor of the House of Commons to raise these threats, how many thousands of other patriotic Canadians of Chinese origin have faced exactly the same intimidation and threats? We hear the stories of members of this Parliament, and some who were defeated, who knocked on doors only to have these Canadians in tears asking them to go into the backyard and leave the telephones at the front of the House so that they could quietly relay the stories of the threats and intimidation that they had received. Knocks on the door from Beijing's agents, visits to family members who live in China itself with veiled and sometimes overt threats that were not acted upon by this government. Meanwhile, foreign police stations on our soil. If the FBI opened police stations in Canada, there would be thousands of people out to protest them. It would be seen as a massive attack by our American friends on our own sovereignty. And yet we're expected to accept it when it is a hostile foreign dictatorship. Can you imagine a Prime Minister ceding law enforcement powers to a foreign dictatorship? Now, he could claim he's offended by all this, but he's been briefed and he's known about it for years and has done nothing except to have his public safety minister go out and claim there was nothing to worry about, that the police stations were all closed. We find out now that was false. At least 2 stations are up and running, and they haven't even been visited by Canadian law enforcement authorities. How many other police stations are out there? How many other aggressive foreign operatives are harassing good, solid Canadian people? Madam Speaker, we need an answer to that question. And yet, why is it the Prime Minister refuses to take action? Is it because he still admires the basic Chinese communist dictatorship, as he so famously said? Is it because, as he said, he admired Fidel Castro? Is it because the dictatorship in Beijing gave $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation? Is it because he now knows that Beijing interfered in 2 consecutive elections to help him win, and he's just happy as a clam to have them interfere one more time to give him an advantage? Is he prepared to put his own electoral interests above our national security? Is that how bad it has become? Well, we know that he has voted against the creation of in our recent Conservative motion, the creation of a foreign influence registry, a registry that exists in the United States and in Australia. It is necessary to register if you want to lobby for the food bank. Why should you not have to make yourself known if you are taking paid interest from foreign dictatorships to manipulate Canadian politics today? It is just common sense, and that's why we want to bring it home. This would not apply to any race or group or nationality of Canadians. It would apply exclusively to people of any race who take financial payment from a foreign dictatorship. And that is something that can be done in a manner that is respectful of human rights. The Prime Minister knows that, but he does not want the truth to come out. He voted against a public inquiry, instead relying on 2 former Trudeau Foundation members to do all of the so-called investigating. A foundation that received $140,000 of money from Beijing. Out of 40 million people, he expects us to believe that the only 2 people in all of Canada qualified to look into this matter are members of the Trudeau Foundation. Madam Speaker, that is not credible, especially when it was his own brother that facilitated the donation coming from Beijing. He voted against closing the foreign police stations. Closing those stations was part of our motion that he and his party voted against, and his party voted against kicking out all the operatives that have been attacking our people. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister has one principal, primordial responsibility. It is to protect the Canadian people and their democracy.
That's right.
He has put that job aside for the priorities, either ideological or financial, that are driving him in the other direction. Conservatives, however, will not let up. We will continue to fight to close these foreign police stations. We will stand up against foreign interference in our elections. We will push for stronger laws to detect and prevent future interference in election campaigns. We will continue to call for, and eventually, when I'm Prime Minister, bring into place a full public inquiry so that we can get to the truth in this scandal. And we will, every day and every way, call for and demand the end to anyone who has been involved in setting up police stations on behalf of a foreign government. This is the least that we can do. And remember, we will bring home control of our democracy back to Canadians, to no foreign government. We will bring home security to our country by removing Iranian or Beijing's or any other foreign regime's operatives that are harassing our people on the ground. And let us make no mistake, as we go forward and do this work, that we are not doing this on behalf of a group of people who are simply members of some diaspora. Chinese Canadians are Canadians. Iranian Canadians are Canadians. They are good people. They are good people. And I want to say to them, we are your allies in defending the reason you came here. I know why you came here, because you wanted to work hard. You wanted to contribute to this country. You wanted to be free from censorship and oppression. You wanted to live your life and build your dreams. And you should have every right to do that. You are our people. You are part of our home. This is our land. This is our democracy. Let us bring it home for you, for everyone. Thank you very much for standing here as Canadians. We stand with you too. Thank you.